What's up guys, my name is Johan Lund and today I'm checking out a ridiculously brutal amp sim, the 1111 by Otto Audio. So I finally got the chance to try out the 1111 amp sim, and might I say it's fucking brutal. It's perfect for down-tuned guitars, and as you heard in the demo, that guitar was tuned to drop G, and it's a match made in hell. And to top it off, it has huge amount of settings to tailor this amp sim to your liking. So let's check it out. Before we continue with the demo, I would just like to say thank you so much for watching. And if you want to support me, please subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever I release a new video. Put a thumbs up to this video, it really matters to me. And if you'd like, you can press this share button down there and share it to your social medias. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Alright, so this is how it looks when you load it up. And I've got the guitars from the demo on a loop here, and have the 1111 on an insert, and that's it. The sounds that you'll hear in the demo right here are totally unprocessed, so the sound is only coming from the amp sim itself. I have an instance of flatline going on the master bus, but that's only for volume wise for the stream, so you know that it doesn't affect the tone in the amp at all. Let's go over the different settings that the amp has. If we start off from left to right down here, you'll first find a preset folder with a lot of different awesome sounding presets for you to use as a starting point. So I'll recommend to start off there and then go further on. Next up is where you choose the foundation of your tone, so to speak. And start off by choosing one of the presets and then go over these to see what suits you best. I'll go over them in a bit as well so you can hear exactly how they change the sound. After that, we have an input gain, an output gain, and a mono stereo switch here, which is pretty cool. If you have your track set to a stereo input, or if you have another DAW that you can add mono to stereo versions of the plugins, if you use those inserts, you can choose this as a mono stereo and gives you a nice cool stereo width. And it's basically a way to hear how the end sound will be, and for you to easily set the tones to fit the mix, or just jam with it because it sounds really awesome when it's huge and wide. So I'm gonna show you that as well. You can use standard mono as well if you want to just dual or quad or quadruple or whatever track the guitars you would like. Next up is an oversampling rate up to 8 times. Punch knob and a power amp on and off. Up here you have your standard amp settings, which is preamp, bass, middle, treble, master volume, presence, and depth. Power on and off is pretty self-explanatory. If you push this one, you have a bunch of different impedance curves to choose from that has different tonal characters. I'll go over these as well. And if you press this one, you can choose different cabinets. You get up to 22 handcrafted IRs that fits this amp awesomely. You can of course use your own IRs or a third-party IR as well. You can switch these off, but recommend to go over them because they sound really good. If you press here, you come over to the back end of the amp. And starting from left to right here, you have an output mod here, which is pretty solid, but I think it sounds sort of cool to choose between the different mods. You have a basic standard gate here, more or less. And it has a boost section here with first off a punish switch, which tightens up the sound a bit more, controls the low end a bit further and cleans it up a bit. An extra plus 10 dB here and an extra low end boost as well. Next up is the power tube selection here. You can choose from EL34s, 6L6s or KD88s. And here you can change the bias of the amp, either cold bias it or hot bias it. Down here you have a feedback circuit knob. With all the way off you get a more raw and more harmonic distortion. And also these two buttons are deactivated. The presence and depth doesn't work if you have them all the way down here. Or you can crank it up and then the presence and depth knob will be activated because they are reacting to the feedback circuit. The snarl knob is a resonance control for the power amp section, more or less. With the sag knob here you can control the dynamic reactivity of the amp, with down to 0 being an ideal circuitry with no compression. And the more you turn it up, the more squishy the sound gets, basically. It's just a matter for you to feel what sounds good to you, basically. And next up is the amplitude knob here, which you wouldn't have to use if you change the bias or snarl or sag. You have to change this depending on the volume, basically, because the volume raises when you hot bias it, and you have to turn this down a bit, and vice versa. If you have cold bias here, you have to crank the amplitude a bit. But I'll show you that in a minute. And lastly, you have dual cabinets running here with separate resonance knobs and an IR bypass if you'd like to use your own IRs or a third-party IR. Alright, so I'm gonna play a section of the demo and I'm gonna start off with the tone that I got in the demo. So let's just play the loop and I'm gonna turn some knobs here and see what tones we can get out of this beast. Yeah, that was a really sick preset that I found here. So I'm gonna use that and then move on. Alright, so let's check out this section here and see what the different knobs do. Let's check out the different impedance curves. Quite different tones if you choose the different impedance curves there, so it's a cool feature. Let's check out the backside. Starting off from left to right, I'm gonna go through all these different settings here. As you heard, when one of the presets changed the input routing to mono stereo instead of just mono, the tone got really wide and awesome. So I'm gonna show you that one once more so you get a feel on how that sounds with just one of the presets loaded here, the Low Throne 2. And so I'm gonna play it and then change the input from mono to mono stereo. Yeah, a really cool way to see how the tone would fit in the mix and what settings you need to adapt in order for it to sit better in the mix, basically. What I really like about this plugin is that the settings that it offers helps you to tailor the tones to exactly the way you want it, depending on the genre you're playing and the tuning that you're in. And the presets that are included sounds really good by themselves, so just choose any of them and as a starting point and then work your way from there is my tip. I hope my demo shows you just how awesome this plugin is, and if you don't believe me, head over to ottoaudio.net and download your own 14-day free trial and check it out for yourself. You won't regret it. Alright, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below and I'll do my best to answer. And until the next video, see you later.